As the sun sets on the grand tale of Antony and Cleopatra, we find ourselves at the crossroads of love, power, and fate. Their world, once filled with ambition, passion, and intrigue, now stands at the edge of ruin. The stage is set for the final act of this tragic story, one where destinies collide and the weight of choices becomes unbearable. Tonight, we reach the conclusion of Antony and Cleopatra, a story of passion, power, and the ultimate cost of loyalty. Antony's private quarters are shrouded in shadows, remnants of grandeur flickering in the dim candlelight. The silence is heavy, interrupted only by distant sounds of unrest outside the palace walls. Antony sits slumped at a desk, his armor cast aside, his face lined with exhaustion and pain. A loyal servant enters, trembling, bearing grim news. Antony rises, sensing doom even before the words are spoken. "She is gone, my lord. Cleopatra is dead." The words echo through the room, carving a hollow in Antony's heart. He stares in disbelief, grief quickly morphing into overwhelming guilt. Flashbacks converge in his mind. Scenes of battles lost, allies abandoning him, dreams of empire gone to dust. His hand trembles as he reaches for his sword, the same weapon he once wielded with confidence. Now it feels impossibly heavy, a burden matching the weight of his regrets. He looks to the doorway, hoping perhaps Cleopatra will appear with one of her legendary reversals. She does not. Torn apart by despair and believing his life's last purpose has decayed, Antony slowly lowers himself to the floor. His breaths grow shallow. He positions the sword and, with a final, longing glance at a portrait of Cleopatra, plunges it into himself. As the pain sets in, he tries to speak her name, but only a whisper escapes. "Cleopatra." Blood pools beneath him. Time slows, his vision blurring, the memories of love and war intermixing. He remembers their first meeting, the promises of conquest. The air is heavy with grief as Antony is brought through the winding corridors by his loyal attendants, their faces pale and silent. Far from the shouts of battle, the harsh clang of swords, and the cries of his men, Antony lies stretched upon a simple cot in the dim light of his private quarters. Cleopatra rushes to him, her silk robes trailing behind her like the fading memory of grandeur. The moment she sees the depth of his wound, her instinct is to cradle his head, her eyes wild with disbelief, clinging to hope as if it might keep him alive. Her voice trembles with emotion as she whispers his name, brushing the tangles of sweat-soaked hair from his brow. Antony forces a smile, though pain etches every line of his face. He reaches weakly for Cleopatra's hand, his once mighty grip now frail. "Cleopatra," he murmurs, "my love for you has been my greatest victory and my deepest defeat." The battle shakes the windows far away, but here, Antony and Cleopatra are suspended in their own reality, time slowed to the rhythm of his fading breath. Cleopatra's tears fall unchecked as she presses his hand to her heart, desperate to pour every ounce of her love back into him. "Your spirit will remain with me," she says, her voice breaking, "and I shall never let you vanish from my soul." Antony looks at her, his vision blurring as the strength leaves his body. No matter the fate that awaits, Know that my heart was yours, and only yours. He whispers, the words barely audible. With a shudder, his eyes close. The last sigh escapes his lips into the quiet of the room, leaving Cleopatra frozen in her grief. The chambers are dim, shadowed by the muted sunlight peering through sheer drapes. Cleopatra sits alone at the edge of her bed, Antony's empty armor lying crumpled before her. The air is thick with silence, broken only by her ragged, uneven breaths. The world has become unbearably heavy. Her loss fills every corner of the room. Tears streak Cleopatra's face, her hands trembling as if trying to hold on to the last traces of Antony's warmth, the memory of his touch fading with each sob that escapes her lips. Cleopatra falls to her knees at the side of her lover's armor, burying her face against the cold bronze. For a moment, she gives herself to sorrow, her cries unrestrained. The weight of their shared battles and fleeting dreams presses upon her. In Antony's absence, the grandeur of Egypt feels hollow, the palace echoing with reminders of what has been taken from her. Servants linger in the hallway, uncertain whether to offer comfort or preserve the sanctity of her grief. Yet, even in despair, a new kind of clarity settles over Cleopatra. Her sobs slow, her posture stiffens. The queen refuses to be defeated by loss. She wipes her tears, her expression hardening as she lifts her chin. She returns to her reflection in a polished silver mirror, searching for the strength that once led nations. The ache in her chest is not gone. It never will be, but it begins to fuel her resolve. A distant horn sounds from the city gates, marking Caesar's approach. Cleopatra rises, wraps her royal robe around her shoulders, and adorns herself in her most regal diadem. There is no Antony now, no Roman general to fight beside her, but Egypt still has its queen. She strides to her desk, scanning maps and scrolls, plotting her next move. There are few trusted allies left, but each one becomes vital. Cleopatra stands alone, draped in her regal robes, her face composed, yet shadowed by exhaustion. The echo of hurried footsteps from the corridor signals the nearness of Caesar's men. A faint perfume of lotus flowers hovers as IRAs and Charmian, the queen's most loyal attendants, enter quietly. They carry somber expressions, their hands trembling. Cleopatra barely glances at them, her eyes fixed on the horizon beyond her balcony, where the shouts of Roman soldiers drift upward, mingled with the distant clash of steel. The grandeur of Alexandria seems a pale memory now. Maps and scrolls are abandoned on her desk, and the jeweled diadem sits untouched. The queen moves closer to the balcony, her voice soft but steady. "Rome will never see me kneel," she whispers, half to herself, half to her fearful companions. IRAs tries to speak, her devotion visible through her tears, but Cleopatra silences her with a gentle touch. Her gaze is unwavering. They wish to break me, to turn Egypt into a tale of defeat. But my story will be my own. A distant knock rattles the wooden doors. Caesar's approach is no longer rumor, but inevitability. Panic passes through the room like a chill. Cleopatra gestures to her attendants, who place a small basket at her feet. A gift, simple and woven, harboring within it the only escape she has left. Her fingers pause on the basket, her breath calm. She kneels, asserting for the last time the posture of a queen making choices, not a captive nor a prize. Charmian kneels beside her, sorrowful. There is still hope at dawn, my queen. Cleopatra shakes her head, a tiny smile blooming at the edges of her lips. I am Egypt. Rome will have only my body, never my triumph. She lifts the basket and removes the ASP, its scales glinting in the fading light. As she presses it to her arm, her composure doesn't falter. There is serenity in her sacrifice, a ruler's command. Caesar stands on the marble balcony of his opulent court, overlooking the restless city of Rome. The early morning haze veils the city's statues and columns, but the echoes of history remain sharp in his thoughts. Servants whisper nearby, tending to the golden ornaments and arranging the scrolls chronicling his conquests. But Caesar ignores the bustle, drawn into reflection by the silence between triumphs. He thinks of Antony, the soldier whose laughter once filled these very halls, now silenced by his own sword. Antony's shadow stretches across the city, a reminder of power's peril when bound to passion and pride. He remembers Cleopatra too, the queen whose arrival in Rome was like a comet, fiery, beautiful, unsettling. Her eyes held promise and threat, her schemes as enticing as her smile. Her ambition matched Rome's, yet in that contest, both lost more than they claimed. Caesar traces patterns in the fog with his gaze, pondering how love, unmoored from reason, can shape the lives of rulers and ruin the plans of nations. He feels both awe and warning in their story, an example of greatness undone by longing, wisdom outshone by desire. A senator enters, bearing news of Egypt's fate, but Caesar listens only with half his mind. Rome may parade its victories, but the allure of the East, the legacy of Antony and Cleopatra, still pulses under the skin of empire. He imagines how as Rome awakens, Caesar makes his silent vow to honor the lessons left behind by those who loved too greatly and lost too much. The world shifts, new legends rise, yet the ghostly presences of Antony and Cleopatra remain, woven forever in the tapestry of history.